I swear that's greatness, greatness, greatness. You look into my eyes, you can see what I see. If you can say the world won't be the same without me, then we call that greatness. And that's a blessing. But wait a second. Look, while we on the subject, let me ask a question.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Uzzi Sports Show. I'm Jared with today's guest, Rino Monteforte out of Kellenberg and the #1 long snapper in the nation. Thank you for being here, man.
Hey man, no problem. Glad to be here.
Yeah, and Rino, obviously long snapping is a very specific position. So, what really got you into it?
So it's actually a crazy story. I tell a lot. So obviously I've been playing football since I'm in kindergarten. I've always been on the bigger side of people. Always that kid who had to make weight limits. So when I was going into 7th grade, I went to FBU Top Gun as a defensive lineman. At the time, I was around 5'5", 130 pounds. And I showed up to this thing where there were kids that were 6'3", 295, 300 pounds going into 7th grade. So I got shell-shocked. There was actually a coach that came up to my mom like, your son could be really good, but would you think about reclassing him? My mom was like, no way. So, it was a big eye-opener for me. So I said to myself, in reality, on that 12-hour car ride home from Rock Hill, South Carolina, how am I going to play college football? And how am I going to be a Division I football player? I thought of a lot of things. I started practicing throwing as a quarterback. I said, what about like tight end? What about a fullback? And then eventually, one day, it all clicked for me. I looked up how to long snap on YouTube. And ever since then, it's been crazy. I watched videos. My first ever video I watched was a video that Joe Cordona, he's now the long snapper for the Patriots, former Navy long snapper. I watched his video, how to long snap, kind of got the basics, learned, practice. At first it was horrible. I mean, it was absolutely horrible. I'll never forget, my grandma came out and caught one of my long snaps once, and she was like, Rino. I'm like, yes, Granny? She's like, you're not really that good. And I was like, okay, yeah, no problem. And then, I just kept working. I got a long snapping target for Christmas that year. And then, I ended up DMing Rubio long snapping. Said, hey, Rubio, I'd love to get out to a camp. Am I old enough? He said, yeah, you can come to a camp and, talk about success early. I ended up having probably one of the most successful first ever long snapping camps ever. We do a charting with 4 long snaps and 4 short snaps into the Rubio long snapping target. And, you get points if it goes in. You get speed bonuses, but you get points if it goes in. I ended up having an average snap time of 1.1 seconds over 4 snaps, which is really slow. Like, really slow for long snapping. But I scored on every long snap, and I ended up being in the finals of the final 6 out of 50 long snappers as a 7th grader. Funniest picture, people are towering over me. Billy Taylor, the long snapper at Rutgers, is on the Patrick Manley Award watch list, best long snapper in college football. Kevin Crabtree, who's the starting long snapper at Villanova. Then it was me as the 3 seed. Jude Pedrozo, who's the starting long snapper at Michigan State. The 5 seed was, 5 seed is Jack Hadley, who's the long snapper at West Virginia. And the 6 seed was Corbin Robertson, who ended up going to a Division II school. He was 6'5", I was 5'5", he beat me that day. So yeah, it was crazy, but it all ends up working out in the end.
Yeah, and obviously you were talking about that early success, even when you were a 7th grader, but just getting into high school and the success really just staying the way it was, what was the key there?
I had my big epiphany for long snapping last summer. I was like, I have to start believing in myself. I can't go into every competition saying, this one's better than me, and that one's better than me, and maybe I'm not as good as this person. Then I came to the realization, I have to believe in myself. I have to be confident in myself that I could win this, and I could win that, and I could be the best. And going into the last summer, I was number 9 in the country, which, was good, but, I strived to be the best I possibly could be. And I ended up, that whole summer, I ended up making the finals at HK Top 40. I ended up being the Pro Football Hall of Fame first-team All-American. I ended up being the camp champion at the Rubio Long Snapping New Jersey camp. Then ended up going up to the University of Buffalo, winning their specialist camp, and receiving my first Division I offer going into my sophomore year. So for me, it was just having the confidence to believe that I could do it. And once I believed in myself and had that confidence, I became to ooze with confidence, and still probably do to this day. And it's come a long way for me.
Yeah, and you mentioned that Buffalo offer, actually. That was your first Division I offer. What was really the process like there?
The process was, I say it to everybody, I could get an offer to the national champions, I can get an offer to the worst team in Division III and commit to either one of those schools. That will forever be the greatest probably day of my life, probably one of the greatest moments of my life until I have a child, of course. I'll never forget, I ended up going there the day before the camp. I had a visit with Coach Neil Herman, who's a special teams quality control coach, special teams analyst. Got to meet Coach O, who is the special teams coordinator, to meet everybody, got to tour the facilities, beautiful facilities up there in Western New York. I mean, absolutely amazing up there. I loved everything about it. Then, I went there the next day for the camp, and I was like, I'm just going to try to do my best. There were 12 other long snappers there, do the best I possibly could, and see what happens. I ended up having probably one of the best days of long snapping I've ever had in my life. I ended up in a round of 5 long snaps and 3 short snaps. I threw 5 strikes, all under 0.71 seconds, and 3 straight strikes and perfect laces. Ended up making the finals, won the finals versus the long snapper who's now at Maine on full scholarship. And then, I'm walking around after camp, go say goodbye, shake the coach's hands. I remember them saying to me, you worked really hard and you seem really dedicated. You did amazing today. And I remember saying thank you. And from that point on, I don't remember any of it. I was all blurred. I was like, And then the only reserves say, we'd like to give you an early offer, and we'd like to give you an offer at the University of Buffalo. And I broke down. My first words are, excuse my language, holy shit, are you kidding me? I'm like, is this a joke? They're like, no, it's not a joke. Congratulations. The coach gave me a hug. I was like, thank you so much, Coach. And then probably one of the coolest moments for me was my mom came onto the track afterwards, because there's a big track that surrounds UB Stadium, and I just gave her a big hug. And I had to do a report for school, top 4 moments of the year. That was my number 1 moment, because all the sacrifices, all the time I put in, all the hard work, I got to share that moment with me and my mom. I got a Division I offer. And no matter what else happens from this point on, always have a Division I offer. I'm going to continue to work hard, but that was just a bittersweet moment.
And then, Rino, we look ahead to actually your high school team. Like I mentioned earlier in the interview, you do go to Kellenberg. So what really made you choose to be a Firebird?
It's a long process. I grew up, in the Long Island football way of, the best teams were always St. Anthony's and Chaminade. I looked at the 2 of those schools. I thought they were good, but when I went to Kellenberg, it was me personally, it was a better fit, not just athletically, but academically, and I knew that I was still going to get to play, rather high-level football. Maybe not as high as St. Anthony, a AAA team, but I was still playing a high-level football, and I was going to get the opportunity to start center. So I said, why not? Why don't I try this out? 30 minutes away from my house, still a long drive every morning, going to have to wake up early, a lot of hours, a lot of hard work that's going to go into it. But, it ended up working out in the end. I've had 2 amazing years at Kellenberg, been able to finish both years on the honor roll at Kellenberg, be able to have lots of fun with my friends at Kellenberg, play on a great football team for a great coaching staff. Just in my opinion, I looked at more than just athletics. I looked at the whole other part of high school, which obviously, football is only from August to November. What's going to happen the rest of the year. For me, it was the rest of the year that drew me into Kellenberg, and that's why I'm a Firebird today.
Yeah, and you mentioned that Kellenberg coaching staff. So how does that staff really help you snapping-wise and becoming an overall football player?
The coaching staff, great coaches, all the way down. You look at, because I played my first year on JV, Coach Feckman and Coach Trano, probably, in my opinion, the best JV coaching staff in the NYCHSFL, in my opinion. I get to spend the full year with Coach Trano because I throw shot put in the winter and spring. So, I work with Coach Trano year-round. Great people who are always, they yell a lot, but they're always for the better of the team and the better of the individual, because these guys, they're great coaches. Every coach yells. But I will admit, these guys are always in it for the better of the team and the better of the player, and I love those guys as coaches. Then this year, I got to play for Coach Mack and Coach Hannafin up on varsity. 2 really great coaches, 2 really great people who really not only just care about you on the field, they care about you off the field. How's school going? They ask me how's your camp this weekend? What are your grades looking like? These guys are always there for you and always there for the team as a whole. So I really love those guys, great coaches. I'm super excited that I'm going to get 2 more years to play for them.
Yeah, your sophomore season on varsity was great. But obviously with long snapping, a big part of it is snapping well in the big games.
Yeah.
I mean, homecoming against Chaminade and even the championship, just take me through your performance there.
In my opinion, homecoming versus Chaminade was probably one of my best snapping games. I only snapped longs in that game. I had 3 perfect long snaps. We gave up 6 return yards. We did have a 40-yard return, but I was blocked in the back and take it back completely. We only gave up 6 return yards in that game. No returns off of punts. Probably one of my best snapping performances. In the championship game, we got everything off. We gave up 0 return yards in the championship game. Obviously we didn't. It's a team effort. We didn't come all out on the right end of the spectrum. We ended up losing the game. But as a punt unit, I was rather proud of my team because we came out and we did what we were supposed to. We got down there as a coverage unit so quick. They can never return the ball. We pinned them at the 6 on our first punt of the game. Second time, we were able to down the ball inside the 20, and the third time from the end zone, we were able to pin from backed up completely in the end zone from the 6-yard line. We were able to pin them at the 49-yard line. So I was really proud of a unit, but obviously we didn't win. So that's something that sticks in my mind, sticks in the mind of all of my teammates throughout this year, and we're coming back hungrier than ever for a revenge tour.
And also, Reno, 3 camps that you've really attended is HKA, Rubio, and Coles. Kind of just take me through all 3 of those camps and what they've meant to you.
Yeah, so I work with both 3 camps. Both 3 camps have great people who run them. Adam Tanowski, hammer kicking, Chris Rubio long snapping, and Jamie Cole and Casey Casper who run Coles. And, all 3 camps, do a lot for me. Super much respect for all 3 of those coaches. Much respect for all 3 of those camps and their programs and what they stand for. So obviously I've attended all 3 of their camps this summer, kind of in the span of a 3-week period. I started off my summer at the HK Top 40 at Universal Studios in Orlando. Really fun camp. We're there for 5 days. You get to spend time with the guys. And, out of 40 snappers, it's the top 40 kickers, top 40 snappers, and top 40 punters in the country, 120 specialists. And at the end of you have lots of charting, lots of competition, lots of instruction, all sorts of things going on over the 5 sessions that you have. Out of 4 days of charting, out of 40 snappers, I was the number 2 overall charter and the number 2 seed going into the finals bracket of 16, only behind the number 1 snapper in the class of 2021, Jake Mann. And then I ended up going into the bracket, cruising my way through the bracket, going for some amazing long snappers. And then I ended up going versus Rex Robich from Florida in the finals, and I ended up winning the whole camp. I was the overall camp champion. Really great moment. And then at the end of camp, out of the 120 total specialists, they picked the Super 7, which is the 7 best HK specialists in the country, 2 kickers, 2 punters, 2 snappers, and a wild card. And I was one of the Super 7 members, which in my opinion, is one of the hardest shirts to get. I worked really hard for that. Lots of grinding throughout this quarantine period, lots of grinding throughout my life since I started football. And to have that opportunity to put on that shirt and represent myself as one of the 7 best HK specialists in the country really meant a lot to me. And then then 2 weeks later, I headed out to Rubio Top 12. We had a competition every day. Got to compete with the 45 best Rubio long snappers in the country. Really fared well. I did the best I possibly could. We had a Day 2 champion and a Day 3 champion, a 45-man, 2 45-man single elimination long snapping target match brackets, and I ended up being the Day 2 overall camp champion. I was really proud of myself for that, because I really persevered versus a lot of great long snappers. I ended up beating kids that are in the Great Old Intermediate with offers to Liberty, Georgia, Charlotte, really great long snappers. And, I was really proud of winning that bracket and being the Day 2 champion out in Dallas, the top 12. Then I ended up going home for one day, and the very next day I ended up driving down to Gatlinburg, Tennessee for the Coles National Scholarship Camp. At the Coles National Scholarship Camp, it's basically their biggest event, like their Super Bowl of all camps. And I ended up, out of 157 long snappers, you chart 34 long snaps and 30 short snaps. And when you involve snap speed into all of that, I ended up having the highest overall charting score out of the whole entire camp, out of all 157 long snappers in all classes, and with an average snap time of 0.66 seconds, which was probably one of my best days ever. And then the very next day, that was on Saturday, the charting, and then on Sunday, came back and ended up winning the class of 2022 long snapping competition. Then as far as ranking goes with the 2 of them, for Rubio after his top 12 event. I was ranked the number 2 long snapper in the country by Rubio long snapping and a 5-star long snapper. And by Coles, after their big camp, I was ranked number 1 in the country for Coles, a 5-star long snapper by them.
And Reno, aside from that Buffalo offer, obviously you mentioned probably the greatest day of your life.
Yeah.
So throughout all those camps, what has been your favorite moment?
Favorite moment out of all my camps is probably flashback to a few months ago at HK Top 40. We drove down there because my mom didn't want us to fly because of coronavirus. And we ended up driving 17 hours down. And, Wednesday I ended up getting minor heat exhaustion because of how hot it was in Florida. It was 115 field like on the turf in Florida. So it was really bad. And to get minor heat exhaustion. So my mom, she'd fill me up a water jug before every session. And she ended up filling me up a water. She was getting me ice. And I was like, Mom, we're late. Come on. She ended up slipping on a whole puddle of water, and there was no sign or anything. She ended up breaking her foot that day, and then so going into the final competition on Sunday, I said to her, Mom, you drove all the way here for me, right, and now you're going to have to drive all the way back with a broken foot. I'm going to win this for you. And, I'm not letting you drive home with a second place long snapper. And I went there, I ended up winning the whole camp. I was the top 40 champion, one of the biggest accomplishments of my life so far, and yeah, I won it for my mom.
And everybody, that's going to do it here. I'm Jared Valluzzi. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. Have a good one, everybody.
Peace.